Hello everyone, I'm Tom64.
And I'm THD.
And welcome to the HellfireComms playthrough of Vectorman, an action platform game with a smidge of the Mega Man jumping and shooting goodness. It originally came out on the Sega Mega Drive, or the Genesis, if you're an American pleb, and
Fair.
fair indeed, and it used pre-rendered 3D models in all of its levels and all of its character design, so in essence it's sort of the Mega Drive's, or Genesis's, version or answer to Donkey Kong Country, only with a lot more shooting.
Well, I think that tends to improve games in general. Hell, that's why in Donkey Kong 64 they gave everybody guns.
I was about to say, no, that was only Diddy, but yes, they do all get, armories or ammunition and such in the 64 game, but whatever. Vectorman was developed by Blue Sky Software, who sadly went defunct in 2001. And they didn't really do much else of note, but they did develop Vectorman 2, which I've never played, so I don't really have an opinion to divulge here, I'm afraid.
I played Vectorman 2, it's decent. I don't know if it was Blue Sky or somebody else, but I know at one point after Vectorman 2, they were also considering a sort of reboot for PlayStation 2, and I had seen some concept art of that. It looked kind of strange. Vectorman looked very Master Chief, he wasn't as piecemeal as he is here. Yeah, you remember that? Nothing came of it, but it kind of sucks because, Vectorman, he only got this game and the sequel, and the games are fine. I really don't know why he didn't continue on beyond the second game.
Anyway, the premise for this game, because as you can see, it's very straightforward in terms of gameplay. You jump, you shoot, you can do upwards and downwards and diagonalwards and all that good shit. You can find power-ups to transform, power-ups to increase your, weapon power, your max health and so on. But the premise is kind of like WALL-E meets Captain Planet. I'm going to just skim over it right now. All the humans have buggered off to, find other planets to colonize because we are a wasteful lot. And in the meantime, they've left behind robots, or Orbots, as this game calls them, to clean up all the pollution. But as you might guess, things went horribly wrong. Raster, a pretty high-level Orbot, who basically monitors Earth through a planet-wide network of surveillance cameras, accidentally was attached to a working nuclear missile by a lesser Orbot dickhead, and thus goes insane, and he becomes the villain of the game, Warhead. And thus Warhead tells the other robots, or Orbots, to go on a rampage, and we have the story of Vectorman. Vectorman himself is charged with cleaning up toxic sludge by discharging it into the sun.
Which is pretty great, I gotta admit.
It's pretty metal, yeah. And he wasn't affected by the mass brainwashing of Warhead, because he was off planet off the time, So he's essentially a janitor who becomes charged with, rescuing Earth, I guess, making it habitable for the humans when they come back.
This isn't the first time a janitor has become a hero here on Hellfire Commentaries, I noticed.
Yeah, this is the first boss of the game. Not even sure if this can be classed as an Orbot. It might just be a very tiny human being in there, but pretty straightforward. You just gotta dodge the spike balls, dodge the things it drops, and when it opens its cargo bay doors, you just counter with a few blasts, and bada bing, bada boom, he's gone.
I'm really not sure why this hover jet or whatever has, flails attached to the wings. You think that would throw off its aerodynamic, but whatever.
I think it's just a boss to teach you about positioning and such, because if you follow the flight path of the bomber jet, you'll basically never take a hit, and positioning becomes very useful later on in the game. And coming up next we have a very short level, so I'm going to have to ask you to just stay silent for a second, otherwise I just won't have enough time to actually describe the level in general.
Alright.
Vectorman's variety game is pretty on point. As you can see now, we're a train. That thing attacking the train, oh yeah, that's Warhead. You just have to keep shooting his hands until he falls off. If you get close to the hands, however, and it doesn't look like he's going to let go, make sure you jump. Otherwise, the only other thing to watch out for here is the energy balls flying about. They can and will hurt you. Other than that, one of the shortest levels in the game.
The other main feature about Vectorman, besides the whole jumping, shooting, and the fact that he looks like a bunch of marbles glued together, is that he has the ability to transform into different shapes. And I like this concept because there's a lot of potential for that. Even in the second game, he gets more organic forms, sort of, because he's a robot. Ostrich. Okay, well, we fought metal ostriches in video games before. Mega Man X knows all about that.
Yeah, I've never played 2, so this is all new to me.
But, I have to say, at least in this first game, they don't really do a lot with the transformations. I mean, they come into play when you find the appropriate power-ups, and you can use them to, like, bust down certain walls, get to certain areas, things like that, but for something that stresses the transformations as a main gameplay feature, they really don't show up that much. You're mostly going to rely on jumping and shooting, so it's kind of a bummer, to be honest.
Well, a lot of the power-ups are there to just help you find hidden areas. The main element of the game is the jumping and the shooting, and honestly, it does that very well. It's a simple kind of game, but the difficulty does ramp up as you go along. So maybe that's the reason young Tom64 was never fully able to, grasp the concept and beat the game, because I was terrible at, like, side-scrolling shooters as a kid. Maybe it's lucky that I never owned a Nintendo Entertainment System and just never played the Mega Man games.
Well, I'm so glad that now in the future, even branching off of that sordid history with video games, you decided to move past that and to comment over video games on the internet.
I think at this point, HFC is just a vehicle for me to complete all the games I never got a chance to as a child, and really that's what Let's Playing should be about. You should play games from your past, or just ones you really want to share with the audience.
Well, I mean, the latest Call of Duty will be in the past a month from now.
You're an asshole, Helldragon, and that's why I love you.
You'll notice another thing here, like you said, it does the jumping and shooting very well, and that does feel satisfying. I play this, with save states, of course, because I wasn't able to play this originally on the Sega Genesis. But one thing I do want to point out is, it kind of ties back into the whole transformation thing. You'll notice that a lot of the... maybe it's because of the graphics, and maybe they cost a lot to make, I'm not particularly sure. But you'll notice that a lot of the assets tend to overlap. This isn't the first time we're gonna be in a level like this, and you'll notice in, like, the first level, what with, like,
I have to cut you off here. There is a seizure warning right now, so look away.
Oh my god, oh, wow, man.
Sorry, man, you go on for so long, I didn't really know where to interject. Please, continue.
Yeah, just as does when the 10 don't. The 10 don't won't send you to the hospital.
Go on.
You'll notice in the first level, we had that area with, like, the flag grounds, things like that. That comes up, like, 3 or 4 other levels in the game. They reuse assets kind of a ton. It's way too noticeable to not bring up.
To be fair to, like, Blue Sky, this is the future. They can develop the world in any way they see fit. Yeah, they just kind of started reusing assets down the line.
Yeah, and then when I remembered that this was developed by Blue Sky, I'm sitting there going, wait, are they related to Blue Sky Studios? The company that makes the CGI movies? Because I saw, like, Rio, like, the other day on TV, and it's kind of weird that now we're doing a Blue Sky thing where computer graphics are so important.
Blue Sky eventually, the software company by the way, not the thing that makes the CGI movies, they eventually became like a subsidiary of Titus, I believe, and both of those guys are gone now. The games development world is a very nasty one, as it were.
I also want to mention about the power-ups in this game. Again, they're very simplistic. I mean, you get, like, the shot, or you get a double spinny shot, or you get a spread shot. I kind of want to see more variety in weapons, but unfortunately they don't have that here.
It plays like Mega Man, it's not exactly Mega Man, although Vectorman with, like, ice or fire powers would be the hypest shit, I believe. And speaking of ice, welcome to one of the only levels that takes place fully underwater, or at least has, like, water physics. You've got more oomph to your jump here, and something I also want to point out. There was an item in the very first level, which I unfortunately missed because I guess it's classified as a secret, and it's called a Max Life Orb, and there's about 5 or so of these in the game. You'll notice you start off with 5 hit points, and each Max Life Orb you pick up gives you an extra hit point. So there's one I missed in the first level, there's one I missed here, and we'll start picking them up from level 6 onwards, I believe.
Looking at this game now, and like I said before, I always wondered why the series didn't continue after 2. I could totally see, like, a Vectorman 3 having been made for PlayStation. I mean, I know at the time they were doing, like, the Sega Saturn kind of stuff, but Blue Sky wasn't really fully associated with Sega. Wouldn't it have been cool to get a cool, like, late-era PS1 platformer of Vectorman? I think that would have worked out great.
PS1 did have a lot of cool, like, because Sony was fully, like, behind the 3D movement, but it still championed 2D stuff, which was great.
Well, as long as you're not Sony of America, because that didn't work out very well, did it?
Okay, we got some bosses here. Yes, bosses, plural. The first one's kind of like a condor or a pelican who just, like, flies back and forth and shoots and isn't really that hard, more so tedious than anything.
Warhead's like, yes, send a laser pelican to guard the Arctic. What's in the Arctic, sir? Lots and lots of ice. I need to cool off.
Yeah, the humans can't have any, like, ice to cool down their beverages when they get back to the planet.
Yeah, maybe we'll find the thing first before a Warhead will.
Okay, sir, I kind of get the pelican, but the polar bear, now you're just kind of, like, trying to mimic the humans. And should we be worried? No! Detonate another continent!
It's a bear made of ice balls that shoots 3 shots at once. I can kind of see the logic behind that.
Either way, just counter and shoot. That's basically the gist for all the bosses in the game.
I love his little pose when he wins. I am not a crook.
I am not a crook. Yeah, 90s mascots, which Vectorman never really fully became, let's be honest. Always had a little bit of tood to them. Sonic, obviously, was the poster child for that kind of thing, but you had Gex, you had Awesome Possum, would Jersey Devil count?
Jersey Devil, I don't know. The closest one I think of, whenever I think of 90s mascots that, aren't Sonic, is Arrow the Acrobat. I played, his second game. It was alright. I didn't hate it, but Arrow definitely did not last the test of time.
Also, Bubsy, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, well, we've already proven that time and time again.
I really like the water effects in this level, but, back in the day, we young Tom64 could not get past this level, for reasons which I will be demonstrating shortly, because there's one asshole enemy that just sits there and blocks the way unless you do something very specific.
Yeah, I hate guys like that.
I don't know if you've noticed, but all the power-ups seem to be contained within televisions, and I don't know if they're meant to be like warheads, like surveillance monitors, but it's kind of funny all the same. It's not like in a ring box, it's not like in a question mark box, no, it comes out of a TV.
I think up ahead is that one guy you said you were having trouble with.
Oh yeah, we're just taking out the fodder right now. Take out the turrets. I believe if you take out all of them, you'll get a nice fat bonus at the end. Here we go, this is the guy. What you have to do to get this asshole to move out of the way is double jump, but if you double jump too high, you won't make it down, in enough time to quickly run, past the guy before he gets back down to ground level. Because Vectorman, he's a heavy robot, as you'd expect. He moves nimbly enough, but not from, a stopping start, or whatever the phrase is, so do a small double jump and you'll be able to get past him just fine. And we're gonna head to a bonus area now, and I think there's only 2 of these in the game, and you get to these by destroying these satellites. They're both the same minigame, so I'm only gonna show this off once.
I do love it when you kill it. He's so happy, even though he caused eternal night.
Yeah, here we go, the bonus round. You are a ball, and you're on the title screen. And Warhead, being the dickhead that he is, and I seem to be using that word to describe Warhead and his minions a lot in this playthrough, is just to try and, ram in to Vectorman. Obviously, if you've been collecting the max life orbs, this is a little bit easier, but it's still pretty tricky. You shoot by using the D-pad, so you can shoot in all 4 directions. But this is very hard to do for me, because as you may know from our retro playthroughs, I record using an Xbox 360's D-pad.
Yeah, that one's not exactly intuitive. I gotta know. Who's the guy who suggested this for a bonus stage? Well, let's make a completely separate, amazing bonus stage. Let's just use the title screen and he has to shoot shit on it. It's just... Again, I really do think the graphics may have cost too much, because this is just lazy as hell.
You can see this being something pre-installed on a computer nowadays.
This looks like the beta version of the bonus stage, and they forgot to make an actual stage, to fill this slot.
It doesn't matter if you beat this or not, because you'll go on to the next stage regardless. But as you saw, winning gives you a nice fat bonus.
A bonus of what, points? Ooh, sign me up.
I think points get you more lives, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, this is the last level we're going to be doing for this video, the Bamboo Mill. Very much a maze kind of level, so you may want to get a bit of a move on, because we haven't really brought it up yet, but there is a time limit for each stage, and it ain't no Sonic 10-minute kind of dealio. And if you run that clock down, you will explode into a mess of balls, and God knows we don't need that to happen.
I never got that. It's always weird when you see these older games. They have these big levels, especially the mazes, of course, because they always do this shit with the mazes, and they want you to explore, but oh no, you got a time limit. So your first inclination is going to be, I'm not going to explore, I'm going to get to this level as quick as fucking possible so I can beat the game. I mean, why did they do that? That makes no sense. I
don't know, a bit of urgency, I guess. I mean, the whole game operates on a day-to-day cycle, day 1 is level 1, level 2 is day 2, and so on, so I guess they wanted you to speed through the game, and actually, I saw a speed run and I'm not entirely sure whether this was tool assisted or not. And it was 11 minutes.
Wow, yeah, I think I've seen that one too. I don't think it was tool assisted though, because if you know what you're doing in these old video games, you can run through them fast, pretty legit.
I believe the guy's name was Felix. Actually, let me look it up because I've got it bookmarked here. I want to give him his dues.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, besides having a native double jump ability, which was rare at the time, for platforming people, I love how when he double jumps, he actually uses his thrusters, and if you're close to an enemy, you can actually do damage with them, which I think is a pretty cool secret little move.
Speaking of secrets, you can actually miss that max life orb, so be very careful when you jump over that gap. The power-up beneath it is obviously the spread shot, very useful against this boss. What you essentially have to do here is, whenever the boss takes a hit, and yes, that does include jet thrusters, which is awesome, by the way, is he's going to throw out bombs. So you can just keep exploiting this to keep him in one place for as long as possible. But other than that, not too hard. Whenever he comes close to you, just double jump over, and that's basically it. The guy's name was Felix Hardley, by the way.
Okay, alright. I think I remember seeing a boss run of this game where he actually did damage using only the double jump thrusters, which was pretty great.
That is pretty great. Okay guys, that's enough of Vectorman for now. Please join us next time where we continue the fight to clean up the planet and defeat Warhead. See you then.